All right, welcome to the Erie Music History Podcast. I'm Chip Shell, your host. And today we have our first crossover episode because my guest today is none other than Mr. Erie Music, the biggest supporter of live music in town. That guy you always see at various music shows around town holding that bottle of blue light, mugging for the camera with various musicians, music lovers alike, everything. Jack Stevenson, thank you very much for being here today.
Chip, it is so nice to be here with you.
Yeah, so Jack is the host of the Two Man Happy Hour podcast that tells you where everybody's playing all the time now. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But as we all know, Jack's a musician. And he's been a musician for a long time. And this podcast is about the roots of everybody's musical journey. So I thought before we get into Two Man Happy Hour, you could tell us a little bit about your experience. I know you and I have obviously known each other for a little while, and our paths have crossed numerous times. But back in the 80s, you got me beat, I think. I think you graduated in 82 from prep, right?
I'm at 82, yes.
All right, so I'm 83 McDowell. And you went right into music and right away, right? I mean...
Yeah, the only way I really describe it was because I didn't play an instrument. I didn't take lessons. In fact, most of my music was just listening to music until after basketball was done.
At prep,
At prep.
Yeah.
And then after the season was over... my buddy Steve drove me out to, what was the name of there was a music shop. Didn't Little John work out on Buffalo Road there?
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, I went out to Little John. I bought a used,
in Wesleyville there.
In Wesleyville.
Yeah.
Bought a bass and just started trying to learn how to play it pretty much, and that was it.
Your senior year at
Yeah,
prep?
it's my senior year. Then, but have you ever talk to somebody about golf when they start golfing?
Yeah.
And they get what they get the bug?
Yeah.
Well, I got the bug with playing the bass.
Yeah.
And music. And now all those things, you listen to all these records and I could play that, and it was just a blast. And so I got the bug. That's
interesting because we had a conversation earlier. We were talking to some folks that you knew from St. John's back in the day growing up, right?
Oh, yes.
And I always hear from musicians on this podcast like, I started in elementary school. I started in middle school, but I didn't realize. So you're at Gannon when you're learning to play music, right?
Yeah, I bought the bass that year when I graduated, but my first year I went to Pitt.
Oh, you went to Pitt
took
first.
It down to Pitt,
okay.
Practicing, trying to learn things, trying to not turn your amp up too loud in the dorm and all that kind of stuff.
It wasn't that Rickenbacker, was it?
No, it wasn't the Rick. It was just a cheapie. It was just a cheapie P-bass copy.
Oh, that's
so
nicer than the one I had. I bought it at Sears. So yeah.
Right. So anyway, then it came back to town. My mom was a reference librarian at Gannon, so there was a benefit where the kids could go for free. So I transferred back and met up with Scopes and the gang, and that was the Scam Band.
So you started playing. Is that when you met Dave Scopow?
No, I met Dave Scopow. Dave Scopow, also St. John's fella.
Okay, that's what I wondered.
We met through St. John's grade school and baseball.
Okay.
Boys baseball in Erie.
And Mark Perini too?
Mark Perini was a Sacred Heart guy.
Okay.
And so we were all right in a row at prep. So it was my year, 82, then Scopes, and then Mark and TJ Johnson.
Okay, gotcha.
So
that is the Scam, those four guys, right?
That was the Scam. That actually wasn't the first band, though, because right after I got the bass, I was kind of playing around and played with a group called Middle Earth, which
love it.
We played only a couple gigs. One of them was at Smitty's Bar on West 26. I don't know if you remember that or not.
No,
but,
no.
Well, anyway, Smitty's. Well, that band eventually became Endless Summer.
Oh, really?
So it ended up being me, Jim Borway, Jack Sidman.
Oh, yeah. Jack just passed away a few years ago.
Yeah.
And Mike was in that band or no?
Mike Lott's not at the time when we started it, but then as your travels take you around, when I moved back from Illinois, Endless Summer, I went and played for them for a while.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they weren't Endless Summer at that point. You were still Middle Earth.
We were Middle Earth
the
beginning.
Yeah.
Jim, who was our guitar player, he was a big Hobbit fan.
Yeah.
And so we got that Middle Earth kind of a vibe to us. And then once I came back, they had changed the name. I left the band, and then when I came back, they had already changed it to Endless Summer and joined again.
So I've played with you a few times. I know the bands that you've been in the past 20 years.
Okay.
Every band has a theme of Springsteen and that New Jersey type of rock. Was that early on for you too with even Middle Earth? Were you just playing?
No, that was more, I was more of a, that band had a lot of Beatles. Okay. No, that was Beatles. Beach Boys, which really led into the Endless Summer thing with the harmonies.
Yeah.
So we did that kind of stuff, a lot of surf stuff. We had a surfboard with our name on it.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that is right now.
Is that the one that's on the cover of the album?
Yes.
That the girls
holding? Yeah.
All right.
So that was Endless Summer.
Huh.
And
so no Springsteen early on.
No. In fact, Springsteen type band really, even though we did some in the Wolfe Gordon and the Scam, he was big in the 80s there with that I think it was Born in the USA. So we did some of those, but really the Springsteen style of band didn't start till Jackson Station.
Okay.
And then that was after I moved back from Illinois, and the kids were younger. And
interesting.
Yeah.
So you graduate prep 82. In 84, the Scam is already playing.
Yeah.
So you've been playing bass for 2 years.
Yeah.
And I found the St. Luke's High School Mixer in July of 1984.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, in August of 84, you played the Hedge Hollow Inn back over on Clark Road.
Oh yeah.
November of 84, the Frontier Saloon. West 8th Street.
Yeah, do you remember that one?
I don't. Is it where the bowling alley was?
Yeah, it was connected to the bowling alley.
Oh, okay, so where Romulo's is now.
Yeah, so Romulo's,
That's
where there was the bowling alley, and then there was a tavern attached.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, they had drinking going on by a bowling alley.
Yeah,
who'd have thought?
And then by December of 84, you're playing on the cable show Erie Rocks. Please tell me that you have a video of that somewhere.
I think, either Scopes does or Mark Perini.
Okay.
Because they have all that stuff. My stuff has been shuffled around, so I really don't know where most of it is, to be honest to God, truthfully, yeah.
Did the Scam last a long time? And first of all, my question about the Scam, it's you, TJ Johnson's on keys.
Yeah.
Scopes is drumming. Is Mark in the band?
Mark Perini, yeah.
Okay, he's playing guitar.
Yeah.
All right, so just the four of you.
Yeah.
All right, good. And how long does it last?
Oh, boy. I think the Scam lasted until, I want to say I think the Scam lasted for about 3 or 4 years as that, because what happened was Mark and TJ graduated high school, and Mark left. Mark left to go to Pitt.
Oh, okay.
So that kind of and TJ, I'm not sure where he went, but he went out of town, but he eventually came back to Gannon.
Okay.
But Mark stayed at Pitt for roughly a year, I want to say, and then came back. And that's kind of when the Wolfe Gordon.
Around 89.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
because
exactly
I found
it.
December 14th, I think, was your first gig with Wolfe Gordon at Sullivan's. I saw it said in the paper, it said the debut of Wolfe Gordon.
There is, that could be. Yeah, there's actually a YouTube video of the three of us in Wolfe Gordon where I actually have hair. I think I have a tight shirt on.
I have some of those pictures already for the post. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's too funny.
You have hair now, but it's just on your face.
Yes, right. Exactly.
So you just said the three guys, but Mike Devine was in Wolfe Gordon for a while, right?
Yeah, Mike Devine was. We went to Fire. That's when I started playing guitar.
Yeah, that's what I was
started playing rhythm, which kind of opened us up a bit more. So Mike Devine joined on bass and stayed until probably 97 or later.
Okay.
Because I think I moved to Illinois in the early 90s somewhere, right around there. And he stayed up until they broke up, which I think was around 97-ish. Okay. I don't know. Not 100% sure, though.
And Mark Perini, I played in a band with him for a little while. Great guy, great guitar player.
Oh, what band was that? I forgot all about that band.
maybe I'm forgetting the name of the band too. I was in it.
Jim was on the drums.
Viggs was in the band. John Helmy was in the band.
The heck
Jimmy
was
13? Maybe, I don't know.
I think it was Jimmy 13.
Yeah, I loved playing.
Oh boy! Here I'm going to start interviewing you.
Yeah,
now.
no. This is yeah. So that's what I was going to say. So 2 years out of high school, you've taught yourself how to play bass. A few years later, you've taught yourself how to play guitar, and you're playing places that are active, and you're playing a lot.
Well, I would have to say, I mean, it was not completely so. Mark Perini was instrumental. I mean, he took time with me.
Oh, okay.
Just like you would with anybody else.
Yeah.
But you have to put your own time into it, obviously. But he would show me. I mean, the music to this very day, the music crowd, I think, is very helpful of each other. I mean,
Yes.
that kind of stuff's going around. So,
Well, you talk about the music crowd, and so back then, you and I were just turning 21 in the 80s.
Right.
Who did you like to go see back then? What bands? Was there anybody that you really looked up to back then? Or
oh my gosh, there were so many. Well, Prophecy and Friction.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so they were, the PI was happening.
Yeah.
Sherlock's had music 5 days a week. We'd go see Talus there.
Oh, yeah.
We'd see
Sheehan.
some of these.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so the scene was fantastic. Did a lot. Tony was on the show.
Tony Krasinski was
his
on.
dad owned Norm's A Go-Go.
Right, yeah.
So that was a favorite place to go see, to watch bands.
I saw you guys in 85 when you were with The Scam. You opened the Men Without Work benefit that headlined the Generic Beat, Tony and the Bedrocks,
Oh, right.
a band called the Rallies. I didn't know them. The Rallies.
I'm not sure.
And then you guys. And I was like, how does a band that's barely been around, of guys that are barely 21, if that, land this gig? Do you even remember that gig?
Was that the one at St. John's Lutheran?
I think so.
Yeah, it was a big thing. It was it's one of my dad's first time he got to come and see me.
Oh, cool.
He gave me the thumbs up after. He said, "Yeah, good. I like your moves on stage." And I was doing my best to be Paul Simonon from The Clash.
Oh,
you
wow.
remember?
Yeah.
He's got this kind of groovy feel to him. And so my dad said, "I like your moves on stage." So I felt that was pretty good. I remember it very much.
That's interesting. Yeah. Because you played, like I said, you played at everywhere from St. Luke's High School to St. John's or wherever, a lot of those types of gymnasium gigs.
Yeah, we did a lot of, we did the mixers. Remember Mount Carmel used to have the big mixer thing? We did those. But we did play bars and we got into, luckily we got into Sherlock's very early when we were The Scam. So we got, at that point in time, a parent used to have to come.
That's what I wondered.
With us. So that was it. But my older cousin, you know my older cousin, Carl Nowachinski?
I just
Carl
know
Nova?
of him. Yeah, sure.
He was in Easy.
Yeah, right.
So he played with Rick Krasinski,
Mark
and
Korzicki.
I want to say, well, anyway, we they let us open for them at Sherlock's, which kind of opened the door.
You opened for Easy?
Not for Easy, for Rick and Carl had another band. I can't think of Time Machine maybe or something like that.
Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah.
And so we got to open. So then we got to meet Bev, who, everyone loved Bev. And so we ended up being able to play there when we were kids.
That's a huge, because then you end up playing there in various bands for 30 years, right?
Easy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
Want to know a fun story, though, about that? So one of the last ever gigs at Sherlock's is my son's band.
Oh.
Real Fake Doors. And it's like one of the last two shows that they ever had there.
Interesting.
And I take a picture of it and I'm like thinking to myself, and this goes back about 4 years now, right?
Right.
Yeah, at least. So it's back 4 years ago. Sean's around 20, 21, standing in the exact same spot as I was.
Crazy.
30 or more years ago.
Wow.
And he's right. I get the photo of him. And I'm trying to. I got to find these photos so I can get a picture of us together.
Yeah,
like
right.
that.
Side by side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other bands that you probably saw back then. Prophecy, Friction, like you said. You have a wide variety of interests as far as your music goes. Like I said, you've got The Clash on one end. You've got Springsteen on the other. Obviously, you're a huge Beatles fan too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, was there anybody else that you remember back then that you really enjoyed?
Love to watch the Bedrocks.
Oh, yeah.
Who were a fantastic band. The Weathermen that were back then. This is from when we were kids, and I was just so enamored of it. I'm learning to play at my house in my basement.
Sure.
And I'm going out to see my friends like Jimmy Rosenthal and Jimmy Cuneo and the Wiggling Judies, and these guys at Oliver's. Remember Oliver's?
Right.
Not the Oliver's on French Street.
Right, on French.
Yeah. So that was a cool place.
And these are all original bands, too, that we should be pointing out. A lot of them were playing, the Bedrocks and the Wiggling Judies.
Yeah.
Did you ever play in a band with doing originals?
Not the only band that I really did that kind of focused on originals was my band in Illinois.
Oh, okay.
Called the Rock Dogs. So we had about a good album's worth of stuff, and so we did it more. It was a different kind of a scene. I was in Bloomington and Normal, Illinois, which it's where ISU is, kind of a college town. So it was a little bit more easily accessible for those groups.
Yeah.
So. But
tougher in Erie, always has
tougher.
been for original bands. Yeah,
I love the original bands, and my son is in one, and they do really well.
Good. Yeah.
I mean, they do more the Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Buffalo thing. They don't play when we were kids, we'd play a 4-hour show.
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore.
They just do
45 minutes
showcases,
and right, and then they're in and out.
Yeah.
But they sell my son will sell $600 worth of T-shirts at a show.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's how I'm like, so that's how you make your money. Yeah.
Yeah, nowadays, yeah. And the other big difference is equipment, right? I mean, the equipment that you and I lugged, even in our recent, because a lot of the folks that have been on this podcast know real equipment from the 60s and stuff like that. But even in the 80s, there were still some big cabinets.
When I don't know if you guys did it, you maybe had a different, we went down to 24th and Parade to where the Raven Garage was. So we would have to carry heavy amps out to our cars and or long
giant
enough cords,
cabinets.
right?
Yeah.
And so we were there for all of it. I don't know why we didn't think of putting them on wheels back then, but I always tell people right now, if I buy a new amp and people are like, what are you playing? I say, really, I buy it on sound, sure. Cost, that's important, but the most important thing, not too heavy.
Yeah, right.
Anymore.
I tell people my bass amp weighs 7 pounds. I carry it in a bag.
Yeah.
And obviously my cabinets weigh a little bit more, but still, those are nothing.
Yeah. Mike Kuhn still has your old bass rigs that he bought from you.
Right.
He's got them.
Right.
I don't know if he's lugging them around, but
yeah. You just don't see the big towers or the Marshall stacks that much, unless you go see Hell's Bells or somebody like that.
Hell's Bells,
Hell's Bells brings it.
Oh, those cats are fun from the word go.
You know what? Let's use that as a jumping point into the future, where we are now, the present day, with Jack Stevenson, who is the head of Two Man Happy Hour.
Oh, right.
You've been in so many different bands since then, obviously, and you still are. I'll say that. I mean, you've got who all do you play with? I don't even want to try to...
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So the main band is Jack Stevenson, the Buried Treasure Band.
Right.
So that we kind of have our show. That's the band that did 8 Great Tuesdays.
And talk about who's in that band, because they're all veteran Erie musicians.
Oh my God. So we got myself, George Barber on the saxophone, Fran Klemenzik. He's in the Man's Room Band.
Yep.
He's,
Fran likes Kiss, right?
Oh, yeah. You wouldn't know, but he does, yeah. Harry Parker from Parker HD on acoustics now, but he's been in bands all over.
Yep.
John Portnova, classic drummer. Andy Gerbic. That's the Buried Treasure Band.
Yeah, all right.
And so... in my other band, probably other primary band right now is Johnny Karate,
right?
Which is my garage kind of reliving childhood band that Mike Kuhn and I, who used to be in Jackson Station, Mike Kuhn and I, and Fran Klemenzik on the acoustic guitar. And we just got a new drummer. Our old drummer was Randy Trimble, but he went down to Florida.
I played in the band with Randy. I love him.
Oh, Randy rocks.
He's a banger, man.
He is.
Yeah, he can hit
Keith
him hard.
Moon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Reincarnation
baby.
of Keith Moon.
I love him, yeah.
Anyway, and this is kind of a secret, but just signed on to play Kevin Reynolds.
Okay.
Kevin from 100 Proof and Next to Kin. He's going to fill in for drums for Johnny Karate.
Cool.
So that's positive. The other band I have, I do acoustics under Jack Stevenson Acoustics. I also fill in for the Acoustic Gypsies with Mike Lotz.
Yeah.
So we got in fact, we kind of got forced into it, but it worked out really nice. We were supposed to do a gig at Riverside as a duo, and but they needed a band, kind of last minute band.
Yeah.
So we called Mike Cummings and Tim Driscoll from Stiletto, guitar player. Said, hey, we had one rehearsal before the show, and we said, hey, we're going to do these numbers.
Tim doesn't need to rehearse.
They were both on it.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy moly. I about halfway through the first song, I look over at Mike, and I'm like, we should start scheduling this band. And anyway, so that's the Carnival Brothers.
Oh,
in homage to
I wondered.
the Carnival Brothers, who
At the
Rascal, who are my good buddies.
All right. Yeah. I wondered why it had that name.
Yeah,
okay,
so that's the Carnival Brothers, but we spell it with an I, not an E. So it's Carnival Brothers. And that's it, just acoustic gypsies and solo shows.
Well, throughout these 40-some years that you've been playing, and a lot of the folks that have been on this podcast know Erie, the music scene, much longer than you and I, but even over the past 40-some years, you and I have seen a lot of change.
Yeah.
And your podcast is really showcasing all the places and the people that are playing these days. And, you and I were talking a little bit earlier. You started it maybe around 2020. Showcase went away.
Right.
People needed to find a place to where everybody was playing, right? I mean, is that the reasoning?
Yeah, the reasoning behind it. Well, the original reason, it's the two-man happy. I can explain the name in a little bit, but pre-COVID, we were thinking of having this show called Two-Man Happy Hour, a live show from down at my studio.
When you say we, is there another
me
person?
And whoever the other person was.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's a two-person thing. I kind of run it myself.
Yep.
It was supposed to be a live show from the studio downtown above McCoy's.
Yep.
All right. Well, we got kind of bogged down with lights. I wanted the show to talk about the live music scene, play some recorded music so me and the guests could have a drink and talk and chit-chat.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit. And so then there was no gigs at all. There was no gigs to talk about. I couldn't even get the equipment to do the live show. Everything was back ordered for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And so we got in a bind there. Well, then COVID takes its course and music starts coming back, okay? And the showcase didn't come back yet.
Right.
So what you see as the two-man happy hour now was supposed to be the Thursday morning companion to that live Wednesday night show. Like Chip Shell would be my guest.
Yeah, right.
And we talk about music, look out the window, see what's going on 10th and State, and call it a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the podcast and the print version comes out the next morning.
Yeah.
So I was doing just the podcast. I was just announcing it, not wanting to step on toes in case the showcase came back.
Yeah.
I didn't want to put it in print, and then people be like, oh, why are you trying to edge them out of the bay? Well, the showcase finally came back, but the issue was they didn't have staff to do the around town section any longer.
Right.
So at that point in time, and that was around, so we're going on 4 years now of doing this.
Oh.
Yeah, next year is going to be 4 years.
Oh, so you started it in 2019.
2019, could be.
Okay.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So so it was around, I want to say, May of, once the club started getting back, we said we got to do something. Then we added the print version in, and that's what people kind of seem to like, because the podcast is great if you're on the move and you just hear me talking about who's playing where. If you're on the fly, But the print version, it's just like the showcase around town that Dave Richards used to do.
Right. You're sitting on your computer.
Yeah, you just pick it up. Yeah,
boom.
I go to businesses. That I go to that know I do this. They got to post it on the wall for their staff to see. I said, you can't expect people to go to shows if they don't know where they are.
Well, tell people how you get that information.
Well, there's it's really any way that I can. So I leave. You got to have kind of be like, as you know, doing this show, you got to be kind of a good time manager.
Right.
So I have different times for different things. I send out some reminders to musicians.
Right.
I send out some reminders to clubs. The easiest way for me to get the gigs is when a club just sends me their calendar.
Okay, gotcha.
And that's like Big Bar sends it out. Hey, here's who's playing. Boom. I don't have to do anything.
Perfect.
So the other way, so in comparison to what the Showcase used to do, the Showcase would not let venues put in their shows.
Oh, okay.
They wanted the venues to buy advertising.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
For their shows. So they couldn't use the around town.
But the
it was just for musicians.
Right.
So I let them both.
Yeah.
So sometimes musicians put their stuff in. They just go to the website and fill out the form.
Yeah, you have a super simple form that you send out. It's
so
really
that's
easy. Yeah.
That's how sometimes I get the gigs. Sometimes people, if I send out a reminder, like usually Tuesdays, I send out a reminder. If I haven't heard from a musician or a venue,
right,
I'll blast out a reminder.
So I'm not the only one getting those reminders?
No, a lot of them are.
I always feel bad. I'm like, oh, shit, I forgot.
No, it's not the first thing on your mind. So I figured that's where my work comes in. I don't want to hound people for them because I don't make any money off this. It's all out of pocket.
Wait, podcasts don't make money? I didn't know that.
Really?
Wow. Right.
Yeah.
Hey, I will give a shout out to my friend Ed, who comes to see us all the time. He walked up to me at my gig last week, and he was like, "So I really enjoy your podcast, and I've listened to about 8 of them, and they're like $5 each, right?" And I'm like, "Wait, what?" He says, "Yeah, I saw on your website, like your Patreon thing is like $5." I said, no, that's like a month if you even want to support it. You don't have to support it. He's like, oh, here's some money. He handed me
that's nice.
A little wad of cash. And I was like, wow, that helps, because there are costs to this, our hosting fees and everything and all that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the
equipment.
When you get the equipment, I have a sticker budget.
Yeah, right.
To put
I got
money
these cool
into stickers.
I'm with you.
month.
I got a sticker budget. Yeah. I got a T-shirt budget.
Right.
Yeah.
I gotta get some.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk to Dan Bainey. He's gonna help me out.
That's right.
He's gonna help me out with T-shirts. But yeah, I mean, there's it is though. It's great when it's 100% worth it when, I'm at, taking my last photo of the night at the Sunflower Club. It's near 1 a.m. and some guy comes up to me and says, "Hey man, thanks for putting out the game. I wouldn't have been here tonight if I didn't look at your show."
Well, that's the part that we haven't discussed because you've talked about everything about getting everything into the PDF or the actual list and talking about it. But there's that other element that everybody knows, Jack, because you go to a shit ton of shows.
Right.
And you're rushing from show to show to show to show. Like, what's the plan for that? Do you have a plan for that? Is it like, I know that Brian Waller has traveled with you sometimes.
Well, the optimum case is that I do have someone driving.
Yeah, right.
Okay, if I have a driver, then kind of sky's the limit.
Right. And it's, I want to get in X amount in a night.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Sometimes, if it's probably not going to be great weather for the next so many months to get from show to show because a lot of it depends on making lights, when people take breaks. There's a lot of different variables ahead of things. So if you ever see me take a picture with a group of musicians that's in a band, that means they were on break.
Gotcha.
So I've got to run in and run out quick. I turn down quite a number of drinks that people want to buy.
I was going to say,
when I come in and I say, I've got to run, the driver's waiting. And but trying to get to 18 shows in a night, and you'll go from the airport to Lawrence Park.
Is that how many you've done in one night?
We've hit 18 in a night.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Wow.
So...
And is Blue Light a sponsor of your?
Yeah, Blue Light.
Okay.
So Blue Light is a sponsor, and there's music. I kind of wanted to make fit Blue Light. has sponsored me for a long time.
Music-wise.
Yeah, music as a musician.
Right.
And they're fantastic. They get me the table tents that go in the hotels and everything with the QR code for the show. And so they supply all that. And they give me some beer.
Sure.
Outside.
Yeah.
And so that's my favorite beer now. But so, yeah, they're a sponsor. But the music stores, I want to help support the low. I mean, I go to a lot of shows because going to a lot of shows is fun.
It is, yeah.
And I think Real Audio helps out. Their live, their stereo systems, all that. It's all about music. And, of course, Alice at Prescow Printing. She helps me with all my print cards and all that. And she's just a sweetheart.
She is. Yeah. We love Alice. She does all my Erie County Fieldhouse stuff for me for years.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it's a bit of an ecosystem because you just mentioned everybody from, I mentioned Brian Waller, who's a great sound man. You mentioned Alice, who prints things. Dan Bainey, who does silk screening, but he's also a musician.
Yeah.
You mentioned the venues. You mentioned the music stores, the studios. They're all those folks, play a role in what the Erie music scene is today.
Oh, without a doubt.
And what you're doing now is a great addition to it, and it kind of brings it all together. So for everybody, I'm going to say thank you.
Oh, well,
I appreciate
you're 150% welcome. Gosh.
So you see a ton of bands.
Yeah.
And so nowadays, I asked you who you liked back then. I mean, who are some of the ones that you're like, wow, I didn't know they were like that, or, that really knock your socks off these days? Because I made a long list of people that I like, but I want to hear yours.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I get, I read this book about Hendrix one time, and when he watches, whoever he's watching, you can pick up something. If you're watching, I could tell you, it's hard to even know where to start.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a lot of talent.
There's a ton of talent. I mean, and it's, you got your obvious ones. The groove is so tight, and they're just on stage. It's a great vibe to dance to. Yep. The Goats, and I'm gonna forget somebody and feel horrible now that I stopped naming people. I love those bands. Poets and Thieves. Have you ever seen them?
Love them. Yeah.
They're one of my favorites.
Yep. Carl, Jack. I mean, they're great, and they're on my list for sure. The one that we mentioned already, Hell's Bells. Jeff Croc's been on the show.
Jeff Croc's been on. Have you seen Flight? Brian Rieger's group. Flight.
And Flight's been around for so long, and they're so good. They don't play all the time,
Phoenix Rising. Tom Denning on guitar. I haven't seen him on guitar, so he blew me away at Rathskeller.
I did not know that one. Yeah, I haven't seen them.
Phoenix Rising. Go see them. Have you seen Rankin and Shell? They're pretty good.
Suck. At least one of them sucks. The bass player. Your bandmate Harry also plays in Acoustic Ear Candy. So a four-piece harmonies, crazy.
Have you been to their YouTube channel to see some of the harmonies and video? Oh yeah, get it if you get a chance.
Oh okay, yeah. Mike Miller and Murray have been on the show. Fantastic. Poets and Thieves. We're both Tom Petty fans.
Northern accents, without a doubt.
Yeah, I was talking to Eric today and texting with him today, and he's got another project in the works too.
And I had a ball. We had a ball. I mean, just that the music is back with Oliver's. Think of Rainmaker and Division Street Machine, Small Town Revolution. I mean, it's my vision of doing this and putting this out there is long-term vision is so that Erie becomes a place where people want to say, hey, you know what? We want to get away from Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Buffalo. We want to come up to Erie.
Yeah.
We're going to have a girls' weekend out in Erie with great music and this and all.
Because there's plenty of it.
Right. And people don't realize,
Right.
Last Friday within the area, I want to say there was, within 30 miles of area, there was almost 40 gigs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a super important point for people listening to this to take away.
Yeah.
Because I've talked to a lot of folks over the years and various ages, and people have a different opinion on, the music scene's dead or the music scene's doing really well, and it just depends on what type of music they like. I'll say with the loss of Sherlock's, the loss of the beer mug, the loss of original venues that will allow original bands. This is not the 1980s in Erie.
Right.
You know, back then it was
Yeah.
7 days a week, 6 days a week, whatever, and original bands. But original bands, I think, are really hurting these days.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong. I mean, there are places like Philly on the Rocks that has original bands, and Altered States, obviously. You know, but some of these new venues, that's the other thing I wanted to ask you about, is like you mentioned Oliver's, you know, Altered States, obviously.
Altered State Altered State stepped up right as soon as COVID we could get people back out. They have a great outdoor venue.
They do.
Yeah. It's really nice.
But they also have an indoor, you know, and
But yeah, we lost a number of places. We gained some places. Bullfrog's having music again.
our friend John Carnival's kicking ass at Rascal.
The Rathskeller, rock and roll mecca.
It really
Dave
is.
Freeman down at Big Bar hasn't stopped at all.
Right.
As soon as he can, he does all this work for the scene.
Yeah.
He's got a great model. Your bands are early, then they're going to have a little changeover, and then the fill-in with the DJ. I mean, it's best of both worlds.
Yeah.
It really is a great thing.
And during the summer, you know, if you go to the dock at all, you have 3 venues to choose from with the Cove and Rum Runners and
So you could start, because that's what I do. So sometimes I'll make all right, I'm going to do all the Bayfront places.
Right.
If I'm do that, I'm kind of by the Bay. I'll usually make my way up to Lawrence Park and get a picture of the band at Irish Cousins.
Right.
And then I'll shoot back down the Bayfront. You can go to Oliver's. You can go to what's the floating barge?
That's what I'm saying.
The barge.
Yeah.
Then you can go to Rum Runners.
Right.
Then you can go to the Cove, and then you can go to
Sloppy Duck. Yeah, absolutely.
Continue on up, and then you get
Room
Altered
33.
State.
Oh, I thought you were going to go up State
Oh, yeah.
Street.
Well, you could go up. If you
Yeah.
go up State Street, then you get Jekyll and Hyde's, Room 33, Big Bar, Rathskeller on the side, and then Rathskeller when you get up. And 24th.
And that might be what people are thinking about is, you know, back in the day, you had Docksider, you had Sherlock's along that route up State Street. You know, there were a few more within there. Even Calamari's, you know, had bands back in the day, you know, and
they have a summer series
They
now.
do, out on the porch, right?
Yeah, that deck they have.
Yeah. But that might be what folks are thinking too. But there are other venues. I mean, obviously, PACA has a lot of original stuff. They do a great job, especially during COVID with their video series and everything. Their Sunday night. I mean, Mark does an incredible job with production there.
They're on show number 111.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave does a great job with doing that, getting that all organized.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and then, you know, aside from that, I always say being a guy that plays in a duo, you know, a lot of outdoor patios have popped up over the years, you know, that have really enabled acoustic bands to play. But I've always felt in the past few years that full bands like you have struggled because of the loss of some of those venues, you know, even places like, I almost said Scorchers, but Sandbar, you know, doesn't have
Bourbon
bands
Barrel
as much. Bourbon Barrel's gone, you know. You know, have you felt that, you know, being in a full band? I mean, Jackson Station played everywhere back in the day.
It is a little it's a little bit more difficult. The positive thing about where I see things right now is, you know, have positive things about technology have helped out. Like if we're going to do me and the Berry Treasure Band, we played last week at Bullfrog, and the equipment that you can get out there right now, we're playing it with just a couple of inline stacks and a couple monitors on the side. So that makes it a little bit easier. You can adjust your cost to the venue a little bit because you don't have as much work and so that makes a difference. So it's been tight, but what we've seen a little bit more of is just we got a lot of good bands now.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of talent.
Yeah.
So there's only 2 nights in the weekend for some place. So you only get 2 bands there.
And, you know, if you're a metal band or a hard rock band or something, it's tough these days.
Yeah.
You know, it really is. And,
with Sherlock's being gone,
Yeah, and there used to be some other smaller venues. Like Scotty's used to have some stuff there. And I think all that's gone too, you know. So I know we're just too old, 58 8, 9-year-old
50.
guys talking about that. But I didn't want to leave that genre out because I'm sure those guys are screaming at the, radio saying, we don't have anywhere to play. So there's still opportunities for growth. But I think the scene has definitely grown.
There's some other. There's some other. The scene is. I think the scene is very good right now for the amount of gig. I see by the number of gigs and the gigs I go to, and I wholeheartedly try to get to everybody's gig as best I can. But it depends on when I'm playing and where I'm located at the time, and what can I fit in before my show versus after my show, et cetera.
Right.
Just to at least make an appearance and get a photo of, the big thing about if I feel like if I can get a photo and show somebody what's going on, that's why I always say right now.
Yeah.
And then it's Rankin and Shell.
Right.
Come on down. If I tag you guys.
Yep.
So your friends may be able to say, hey, Chip is down. We were thinking something. We should go down and see him.
Right. You know? That all helps. I mean, social media is a huge help these days. And one of the other things that I've noticed, and you and I both do this, we host open mics.
Yeah.
So mine is once a month. I do it with the Fabulous Leftovers, and then they play, and then we open it up to an open mic. And through that, we've learned, or I've been introduced to a lot of other players, both young and older.
Yeah.
There's a great musician who I'm going to give her a shout out, Shauna Pillar. I work with her dad. I've gone to see her a few times. She's 16 years old, fantastic. Right. She's a student at Monochrome Studios, which used to be, the rock school, which I just toured yesterday and was super impressed with.
Is that Ryan?
Yeah, Ryan Krisiak.
Oh, yeah.
And, everybody knows about First to 11 and their success, and I don't know if everybody knows that, but they're huge, you know. But what they're doing over there, and they're much like World of Music, they're doing the same thing. And any music school in town, Accurate Performance, Anthony's got a good thing going on there too, that there is this new generation, and Sean is just one of them that, I happen to know, but Shauna has come out to one of my open mics. So you've got all these old folks, and then you got, a 16-year-old girl, and people are going, oh my God, there's hope for music, You host one at Raskeller.
I go Raskeller, and we're going to do one in December here at some point in time. And it's just it's just where people can get out and have a little fun doing it.
Yeah.
When you first pick up guitar, you got to be thinking in your head, I'm going to play a song, sing a song on stage or something like that. And you give those people that opportunity.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of places that do that.
Absolutely.
There
used to be more.
Philly on the Rocks does one.
Does it, right.
L. Taylor does that on Saturday. But sometimes there's different hosts. But it's usually a pretty much steady gig when I announce it on the 2-man happy hour.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot of them out there that.
I don't know if there's a lot anymore. Like the Sandbar used to do one. Monica used to run
did
that.
A good one there,
and then Doug Phillips used to run the one at the train station. And I don't think they do either one of those anymore.
Yeah, well, the Erie ones are not. There's not a ton in Erie, but in the surrounding areas,
For sure.
I do announce. Usually at the bottom of every category on 2-man happy hour, you'll see at the end I'll put the open mics.
Oh, excellent.
A lot of times.
Well, see, that's
that
great
that
plug for
Yeah.
So
it just keeps the people out there. It keeps it going. I honestly believe if we can be known as this kind of fun place to go for a weekend, maybe that'll open some people's eyes and say, hey,
sure,
why don't you maybe not think about living there, having a good time?
Yeah, for me, open mics are fun because you get to see a wide variety of people. I think about when Glenn and I first started playing, we used to host this open mic at the Haven, which was like the basement coffee shop in his church.
Oh, geez.
And we'd do it on a Saturday night, and it was a really cool venue, but we had people come out. In fact, one of the young guys that plays around town, younger than us, Ron Yarman. So Ron does original music, but does covers too. But Ron used to be one of these guys that first started coming to that at the Haven years ago. And now I see he plays everywhere.
Yeah.
But we would have people that, I remember there was a guy that would just do, wouldn't sing, just play like classical guitar, crazy stuff,
Wow.
And you have a wide variety. at the one that I host, there's a great band in town called Bouchon and the Magic Beans. Mark Wilmoth, he's a great singer and harp player, and Bouchon plays guitar for them. But I remember seeing Bouchon at Monica's.
He comes to ours too.
Yeah.
They come to ours and play.
Yeah,
and
killer.
Mark does the harmonica and he sits in.
But I used
great.
to see Bouchon before he was with Mark, and he would just sit in and play Hendrix, and you're like, what's going on? You know,
Right.
I mean, just jamming. Real talent. And now those guys, they're out playing places. We both know Angelo Phillips, long time. So he started coming to ours, and he put together the Collective, a newer band. Man, are they fantastic?
Yeah. I just was introduced to him. It was during I was playing at the Tall Ships, right by the big rubber duck.
Yeah.
And I play, I'm kind of just, passerby music, not really. And somebody came up and started talking. Hi, I'm Angelo Phillips. Thanks for doing the show. And I says, oh my God, I've been meaning to come out and meet you and come out and see you. But I haven't seen the whole band yet. But.
Yeah, the Collective's fantastic.
Oh,
Him
good.
and Shani and her husband, and I apologize, I forget the drummer's name, but they're all great.
Yeah,
and
fantastic.
But another new band that are coming up and about. So well, good.
Yeah,
this is great. Yeah, our first crossover. This is awesome. All right.
So the 2-man happy hour, I mean, we're just going to keep going. I mean, if you've got gigs, if you know of gigs, I mean, it's 100% free promo for gigs if you're a musician or if you're a venue.
Yep.
Or if you're listening to this.
Right. Tell them where to go.
Yeah. Go to www.twomanhappyhour.com, and it's the number 2, not TWO.
Right.
So www.twomanhappyhour.com, and you can see here there's 4 podcasts, usually about 2 to 3 minutes, where I just announce who's playing where. You get to hear my lovely voice. Or there's the print version. Click on the PDF button, and that's the print version of the show.
Perfect. All right.
Right on.
Well, Jack, thanks for coming on today. We appreciate it.
Oh, my God. Well, I can't wait to come back.
Anytime.
All right, brother.
All right, man.
Thanks.
Thanks. Thanks for listening, and special thanks to the JPT Foundation for sponsoring the podcast and for letting us use their events hall once a month for our free music night featuring the fabulous Leftovers. They're a band of longtime Erie musicians who play for an hour and then are followed by 2 hours of an open mic. All the proceeds for the event go to the Second Harvest Food Bank. The music nights are held the first Tuesday of the month from 6 to 9 at the Events Hall, which is located on West 38th Street in the plaza right next to Our Lady of Peace Church. If you like the podcast and would like to help me out, because this is not a money-making endeavor for me, you can contribute a few bucks via Venmo or Patreon. Just go to the Erie Music History Podcast website for the links. And finally, for information on what bands and musicians are playing in Erie and the surrounding area, please check out Jack Stevenson's 2-Man Happy Hour podcast and webpage. Jack gives you all the details you need each week on who is playing where. That's 2-Man Happy Hour podcast. So I'm Chip Shell, and I thank you again for listening to the Erie Music History Podcast.